Due to the graphic nature of this program, viewer discretion is advised.
Get him on IV fluid.
Milwaukee Emergency Center for Animals Television is brought to you by Animal Fairy Charities, a premier organization focusing on animal welfare while teaching compassion to young children.
Well Balanced Dog, your premier canine nosework instructor and trainer.
And Camp Bow Wow, premier doggy day and overnight camps.
So this is Piccolo. Piccolo is a bearded dragon that are probably one of my favorite lizards. Only because they make such nice little pets. Now this guy had in his mouth at one point, you can see inside his mouth, that's his tongue. And then on the sides of his mouth are his teeth. All alongside of his mouth and on his tongue, both sides, he had all little skin lesions when he first came in that were all infections, and it's called mouth rot. Now, because he's been taken care of so well, all those sores have disappeared now, and it's actually an infection from having very poor husbandry. So everything, as you have seen me talk about in the past, is related to husbandry. If you take care of them right, they do very well in the environment. And especially these guys, because they are desert animals. This guy had metabolic bone disease. So he had an infected mouth, which came secondary to metabolic bone disease. And metabolic bone disease is caused by him not getting enough calcium and UV light. See how light the bone quality is? So without calcium, a good source of calcium, and without, this bearded dragon was not eating any vegetables with high calcium amounts in the vegetables. And it was eating no gut-loaded crickets when it first came in here, so the bone quality is really bad. Then what we did is we gave this bearded dragon high amounts of calcium and provided a UV light, and now the bearded dragon is in really good shape. He needs UV light, so he needs to be kept in an aquarium, about 20 to 30 gallon aquarium. They live alone. They're usually solitary animals, so don't try to put them together, because it's not like a lot of people think that animals love each other and they need to have a mate. Actually, a lot of reptiles like to live alone, otherwise they'll fight. So if you don't want to breed them, it's like having two pit bulls together. Well, okay, it's great to have a pit bull. They make great friends, but it's not great to have two male pit bulls that haven't been together as adults. They may fight. It's a possibility. So reptiles are the same. So the way to keep them, you need their substrate, or their cage arrangements should have even a cloth like this, a towel, or fake grass. Or they can have yesterday's news, which is a type of recycled newspaper. Their food source is half vegetarian and half protein. So their protein source is either mealworms or gut-loading crickets. And you can gut load crickets by buying crickets from the store, putting them in a small little aquarium, putting newspaper or paper toweling on the bottom, buying cricket food from the store, and then putting a small little piece of apple for their water source at the bottom of the cage. And then you let the crickets eat the cricket food for about 3 days, and then you could use the crickets to feed your bearded dragon. So this is Lovey. Lovey is about a 7-year-old peach-face conure. They weigh about 40 to 50 grams, so they're very small birds. They're a little smaller than about the half the size of a cockatiel. They're called lovebirds because they got their name because people think that you have to have 2 of them because they're lovebirds, so they're in love. You buy a male and female, but that's actually not as true as that is said, because a lot of these birds will attack each other too. So we call them kind of the pit bulls of the bird world. But it had a high lead and zinc level. It lived in Chicago, one of a very old house from the 1890s. And it used to fly around the house with the other bird. The other bird got sick and died, and they put this bird in another cage. When we tested the other cage that the owner had, we realized it was probably from the about 50 to 60 years old. Those old cages used to be made of zinc. So this is the x-ray of Lovey. We caught these pieces of really bright, shining, very much more shining than the bone quality. When they're high density like these are little lead or zinc particles that the bird had consumed. So what we did is we gave lactulose to this bird, in other words, a laxative, moved those little particles out over about a 3-week period, and then we treated with calcium EDTA, and of course brought the bird back to really good health now. So we got rid of the old zinc cage, aren't going to allow the bird to fly in the owner's house anymore, and got her a brand new cage, which is usually a California type cage. They make different types, which are no longer zinc or lead made. So they're very, very comfortable cages for a bird that's about this size and having a second one. This is a perfect cage. It has a lot of different toys. It has different swings, different perches, different areas for the enrichment areas for the bird to go in, toys to bite on, different things for the bird to do, because if they don't, they will feather pick. And that was another problem in this bird. When it first came in here, it had no feathers, and it bit all over the side of its neck here. Now the feathers are growing back. So this bird is more highly enriched, and there's so many things for him to do.
Milwaukee Emergency Center for Animals Television is brought to you by Animal Fairy Charities, a premier organization focusing on animal welfare while teaching compassion to young children through education, experience, and leadership.
Well Balanced Dog, your premier canine nosework instructor and trainer.
And Camp Bow Wow, premier doggy day and overnight camps. And now, a word from our sponsors.
Canine nosework is a dog sport. This new exciting activity for dogs is designed to develop their natural scenting abilities by using their curiosity, desire to hunt, and their love of toys and food. Canine nosework teaches a dog to use their nose to find a specific scent and then tell you they found it. It's like watching a police dog work, but it's your dog having the fun. Any dog can do it, and they build confidence and solve problems, all while burning lots of mental and physical energy. Get your dog involved. Call Well Balanced Dog or visit dogwellbalanced.com.
For over a decade, Fetch Magazine has examined the unique bond humans have with their canine companions by publishing popular dog-related topics. With a strong commitment to dogs in need, Fetch also prints local adoptables in each issue, supplies affordable advertising to businesses, and gives rescues 30% off of ads. This year, Fetch is offering $15 subscriptions for your convenience. For more information, visit www.fetchmag.com or pick up your free copy at a local pet establishment near you. Go Fetch!
Boarding, grooming, training, and more. When it comes to your pet, Animal Motel is their home away from home. At Animal Motel, we offer a top-of-the-line facility with boarding suites for both dogs and cats, outdoor play yard, a training hall, and so much more. Whether they're here for obedience training, grooming, or an extended stay, we promise your dog and cat will be part of our family. Animal Motel, personalized care for your precious pets.
These are ferrets, which are owned by one of our technicians here. She loves ferrets and she helps rescue them too. So these guys all live together. They love each other. There's about 6 of them in there. They are usually adopted in the United States. They're adopted from a particular farm that neuters and spays these guys really early, like at about 6-7 weeks of age. So they'll have a tattoo on their ear, which you can see right here. They're delightful pets because once they're spayed, they take out their anal glands, which causes them to have a really horrible scent. They live about 5 to 7 years. Some of them even up to 10 years of age. The only problem with ferrets are they get a lot of diseases as they age. When they become 3 to 5 years of age, they'll get diseases like an insulinoma, which is a tumor of their pancreas. And then they also get tumors of their adrenal gland, and they start losing their hair. Still, people keep them and they make delightful pets. They actually make ferret food for them. And if they eat ferret food instead of cat food, because we found that they don't get as fat by eating specially made ferret food. This is a 4 or 5-year-old little parakeet that presented here about a week ago for having an egg stuck in her uterus. And the egg was actually pooching out so we could actually see the egg, but it was too big to come out. So birds produce eggs, they're sterile eggs, they don't need a male there, but they just produce eggs, so you gotta think about it like a chicken. So chickens can produce eggs, they don't need a male for stimulation, they just produce eggs with yolk in it, and that's what we eat. Well, parakeets do the same thing, and but sometimes they produce such big eggs that it can't pass through. And last week they were able to get one egg out by cutting open the uterus, pulling out the egg, cutting open the uterus, removing the egg, and then sutured the uterus back. Well, then we took an x-ray and found that there's another egg up in the uterus. We left it in there And we had the bird come back in a week later to see if maybe the bird would pass it herself, and she did not. So now we sedated her again, and we're going to put her under a general anesthesia and try to maneuver the egg out of the uterus. We're putting her down with a mask. You can see her little face in there. And then when she closes her eyes, she's already down. Okay, so now we found that we're going to have to open up the uterus. All creatures great and small, right? I put one more and then suture your knot, okay? Okay. I'll give an injection of antibiotics. Which is... Yep. Citavet that lasts a week. So now we have the egg, 2 parts of the egg, and that's what was inside. Kind of a misshapen egg where the yolk had been reabsorbed already. Now it's going to be our job to send this bird home and what we're trying to do is increase its night cycle so that the bird will stop doing this. We also gave a hormone injection, which is called Lupron, and that'll make the bird hormonally so that it'll stop the FSH production, which stimulates the brain, which tells it to produce an egg. So 2 parts to it. We gave a hormone shot to stop the production, and then secondly, we're going to increase the bedtime, so putting the bird to bed early so it has less of the light cycle. The light cycle is actually what makes the bird produce eggs. So if it has a longer nighttime, it'll be less likely to produce eggs, and then we're hoping we can stop this production. We need a bulldog that's suffering from trying to get an air. Here, Chad. So we've got to give him some propofol and get an endotracheal tube in as quick as we possibly can.
Alcohol.
This gas. Alcohol.
X-ray. X-ray. There's an X-ray.
Run.
You might check out the top so you can see a blood test.
Oh, it's going to fall out.
So the dog's turning cyanotic because he probably either got overheated or connected quickly. Give it quickly. It's slow.
Okay, go ahead with the tube.
Got it.
Thanks.
Relax, baby. There you go.
All right, take it easy.
Relax.
Take it easy. That's all right, buds. All right, go a little bit faster. Get ready to grab the tongue, okay? You grab the leg. Sam?
Watch it.
Yeah.
All right, keep
A
going.
little more, Sam.
Can breathe better just doing that.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Keep going.
Right.
All right. Here.
Maybe tie it in.
You want to hold it? I'll get the tongue.
Yep.
I got it.
Oh dear, Bubba.
You got air going, huh? Yes, oxygen is nice. See how his tongue turned pink now? Let's hook him up to oxygen quickly.
The ampy bag.
You got his legs.
We are fine there.
Yep, we got it.
Tie it in, inflate the cuff. feels super hot too, really hot.
So we're going at it.
So we're gonna hook up oxygen and give him oxygen through an ambu bag. Put the owner into a room, or the whatever she is.
What would you like, oxygen at?
3 liters. Blow out the cuff.
Alrighty. You got it, Chetty?
You want to take his temp, put in an IV. All right, so his airway he's really swollen back there, and he's got an elongated soft palate. These dogs, because they have the pushed in faces like that, they're prone towards it, especially if they're out 106.1. Wow, that's high. They're prone towards it because they have abnormalities. They're born with abnormalities in their airway. So they have elongated soft palate. So that's your soft palate way in the back there. It's elongated. So it hangs over the opening to the larynx. And then they also have a smushed in face. They have nares that are very narrow here. So they're kind of pushed in and not wide open so they can get air easily. And then if the opening to the trachea gets swollen, this closes up and then they're gasping for air. And because they're gasping so hard, they drive their temperature up, and this guy's at 106. So I'm gonna go in, and somebody was babysitting for him, so I'm gonna talk to the owner and see if we can get permission to get some fluids going on him. The dog was at a daycare. First time it's ever been there. The dog has anxiety issues. So he was outside, probably got anxious. It's not hot outside today, so he just got anxious. He probably was very anxious and started breathing hard, and then because of their normal Bulldog pathology in the airway, it created him to start breathing hard, and then he got swollen in the back in the laryngeal folds. So she's okayed everything, whatever we need to do. And then we'll start some cold fluids and get the temperature down slowly. You know, we don't want to get it down too quickly. We just want to get it down to about 103 degrees. We don't want to overly cool them, and cold fluids running through the IV will get the temperature down to where we need it to be. We're going to keep them right here out in the open. We'll have Sam watching them here, but everybody will be available to extubate him just in case he starts to wake up. Usually this fentanyl ketamine CRI will keep him sedate for several hours so that the swelling can go down on his tracheal epiglottis area that was so swollen shut. In my experience, a lot of these bulldogs take forever to wake up because they actually have congenital abnormalities and a lack of oxygen on a regular basis because of their elongated soft palate. Their nares is really narrow, so they're always having a little bit of oxygen deprivation. And when you put in an endotracheal tube, they act as if, oh, this is great. Now I finally have regular oxygen going down my trachea. You know, I've always wanted to work, and I have for years and years, work with the police officers, because I have a strong heart and belief for the police officers because of the fact that they work day in and day out, and they have a bad rep. At the same time, they do so much good for our world. The guys, and then one step further, the guys with the police dogs are incredible. So I was training them in CPR at that time, so I would give them CPR in case their dogs got in trouble when they were out in the field with them. How could they take care of them? Then I started learning, oh my goodness, these guys, these dogs are like their partners. They're exactly their partners. They have their backs. They go out in the field. They're the first ones shot and the first ones stabbed out in the field. They could lose their partner any second of the day, and these dogs have their backs. And then what they do is I started learning that they'll go in, and the dogs, they have no sense. Like a police officer's always thinking. You always have your mind. You know, okay, well, if I go in there, then I might get shot, or there's something going on, I hear something. The dogs are like, poof, in, and they're going, and they're going to complete their task, and there's nothing else in their mind at all, except for the Kong toy that they get at the end when they complete their task. And if they die doing it, so be it. That's not in their mind at all. And I realized that, you know, when we have that salon that where that person got murdered, or that Sikh temple that was busted into, the dogs were right there at both of those instances. And all over the world, dogs are being used, service dogs are being used, and I realized how important these dogs are to us. So Deb Lopez and I set up this foundation, and it's for, initially was for vesting every police dog in the Wisconsin area. So getting a vest on them, so when they go out in the field and they're shot at or stabbed at least they have protection, just like the police officers do, their partner does. And then we realized, oh my goodness, these police dogs are even more important because they come into our country. Usually they are adopted from a foreign country like Hungary or Germany, or some of the dogs that come from those countries brought over here, and then they're trained, and then they work with their officer for 6 weeks in training, and then they need veterinary care from that time on. They need a special car to keep these dogs and drive with them, so that when the air conditioning never goes out when they're in the car waiting while the police officer goes inside to investigate something. So they need special cars, and their veterinary care. These dogs require $20,000 or $15,000 just to acquire them, and then at least $25,000 to keep them going until they're 9 years of age when they retire. So from 2 to 9 years, then after they're retired, they need a new dog. So we realize that that's actually where our focus should be, at getting every single county and city in the Wisconsin area to have a dog, because everybody should feel that safeguard of having a dog and an officer together.
Today's show was brought to you by Animal Fairy Charities, a premier organization focusing on animal welfare while teaching compassion to young children. For Pet's Sake Dog Training, Bichon and Little Buddies Rescue, and Camp Bow Wow, premier doggy day and overnight camps.